8:29, and it's a gray start to this day, but it's going to be a happy ending, I think.
Let's hope so.
A lot of people are going to be running around today, John.
I know. They got to get where they're going. Big travel weekend.
Yeah, I feel like the weekend before Christmas is either really exciting or really stressful. It's just a lot going on for sure. And we don't need Mother Nature complicating that. We do have a little bit of fog at SFO, but a lot of fog in San Jose this morning. And I'm really worried about your flights out of San Jose, if anything. So just check your flight status down there. This is the densest fog a lot of neighborhoods down in San Jose have seen so far this week. And it stretches up into parts of the East Bay too, so be mindful of that. Really only dense fog advisories up in Solano County though, as far as our advisories are concerned, but do watch for it elsewhere, of course. We are seeing a couple of showers right up there along the Humboldt-Mendocino County lines. We are definitely going to see a few sprinkles in Point Reyes today, maybe a drop of water or two for the rest of us. Really holding off on most of that rain until tomorrow though. Temperature-wise, we're in the 40s, Oakland at 44, Berkeley 43, Santa Rosa, Petaluma, Novato each at 46 degrees. Moving into the afternoon, there's your sunshine above the East Bay Hills. We've got 50s to 60s, peaks of sun, but increasingly cloudy ahead of this active pattern starting tomorrow. Roadways this morning are doing really well. I think a lot of us are already into the holiday gear, not so much getting to work anymore. So it's only 9 minutes across the Bay Bridge. We've had zero issues crossing that bridge. Richmond Santa Fe has done great too. And well, things are taking you a little bit longer getting out of the city northbound on the Golden Gate. Heading into the city though, all is moving along just fine. Back to you.
All right, we want to get back to the breaking news. We just heard live in San Francisco, the acting chief talking about what happened near Union Square, where a security guard was shot and killed by the police because they think he's the one who ran a vehicle into two pedestrians and a bicyclist.
On the sidewalk. KRON4's Will Tran's been following the story for us. He was there live during the press conference there near Union Square. Will?
Well, here's what you need to know, James. About 10 minutes ago, they finally reopened traffic in Union Square at Grant and Post. This is where the shots were fired at around 1:35 in the morning. Let me show you video of the scene. This is at around 7 o'clock or so, and you can see even at that time, police officers were on the scene. It actually started at around 6:30 last night. You just heard the news conference where the assistant chief, he said that a security guard was driving along, going after an e-bicyclist, hopped the sidewalk. Two people were coming out of a Chipotle, an 18-year-old woman and a 17-year-old girl. They were hit during all of this and then actually made contact with the e-bicyclist. The e-bicyclist took off from the scene on foot. The e-bicycle was still there, and apparently, according to the assistant chief, this security guard tried to take the e-bicycle but could not, and then left the scene. Then they did their surveillance work. Then in the overnight hours, talking to people, looking at footage, they realized that this man actually works near this whole scene where it all went down, just a couple of blocks from this location. That's when they tried to confront him. Amazingly, it appears that after all of this, it seems like he went to work. Here's the assistant chief talking about that.
At about 1:38 this morning, several officers approached the suspect, who was standing outside in front of the store. After an attempt to take the suspect into custody was unsuccessful, the officers were involved in an officer-involved shooting. The details of that officer-involved shooting are still being figured out. We're still looking at all the evidence. We don't have all the specifics on that. The officers immediately rendered aid and worked on life-saving measures. Unfortunately, the suspect is deceased.
At this time, his name not being released to the public. They are desperately trying to track down the e-bicyclist, hoping that that person, that man, knows a little bit more about all of this. They don't know if it was road rage, whether or not the two knew each other, but the e-bicycle was still there. And again, they're still searching for that particular person. As far as the scene, it was a massive scene. It actually involved one police car, where a police car also had to be towed away from the scene. No officers were injured. If you watched the news conference, I tried to ask him specifically how many officers were involved, and the assistant chief said a few. They will have a town hall meeting in 10 days from now. Apparently that's their regulation to go over more details as they continue investigating all of this. But you saw the video where the road was shut down, and now you can clearly see it is open to the public. Back to you.
All right, thanks for the update, Will.
It's 8:34. Turning to news for your health now. With the boost in travel and people getting together for the holidays, obviously doctors are concerned about the possibility of you catching a respiratory infection.
Yeah, they spread fast. KRON4's Leslie Gooden has more.
Christmas is just a few days away, and along with celebrations, the holidays are bringing something else with them.
This time of year is actually the peak for cold and flu season. We're just entering the beginning of cold and flu season, which is active over the next few months. And the big three that we watch for are COVID, influenza, called the flu, and RSV, which stands for respiratory syncytial virus. Those three viruses make up the majority of the infections that we see circulating.
According to Kaiser Permanente in San Francisco, there are some steps that people can take to protect themselves against the multiple viruses.
Sure that you're vaccinated. Vaccines are the most important protection we have against these viruses. So anybody over the age of 6 months should have an up-to-date COVID and flu vaccine. Also, RSV vaccines are indicated for anybody over the age of 65, and for some people between the ages of 60 and 64 who have other medical conditions.
And with the constant mutating of viruses, experts say we too are changing the way we address them.
Routine testing before family gatherings isn't really recommended anymore. But I think it makes sense to take some common sense steps. If you're feeling sick and you're going to a family gathering, particularly if there may be some susceptible people there.
We asked what should people do if they find themselves sick and have spoken with their doctor.
So if you've tested positive for flu or COVID, you don't need to keep testing anymore to prove that you're negative, but just stay isolated until your symptoms improve, till you have no fever for at least 24 hours and other symptoms are improving, and then wear a mask for 10 days.
And with the multitude of viruses in the air, experts are noticing new trends are being formed as well.
So we are seeing actually a fairly later start to cold and flu season in some years. The numbers of flu cases are just beginning to rise in Northern California and the Bay Area. COVID is still relatively low.
Leslie Gooden, KRON4 News.
And today, the California Department of Public Health is hosting a press conference about actions regarding to protect people against the bird flu in California, because as you know, it has affected dairy farms and chicken farms. A lot of chickens have had to be killed because of the bird flu. Now, to date, no person-to-person spread has been detected in California, and they say that the risk remains low to public safety, but still, they are committed to making sure that those with high risk are protected and that we know what we need to know about being safe from the bird flu. That press conference is today at 11 a.m. Take a look at this video. It shows Brentwood police trying to chase down, well, they did successfully chase down this man on a bicycle. His name is Daniel Whelan, and they think that he's the one who broke into a business at Brentwood Junction Shopping Center, and so they ended up following him after he triggered the alarm. And it was sort of a slow-speed chase from the business all the way through parking lots, as you can see here, until they arrested him. They also found a pry bar, a knife, and gloves, and stolen property belonging to the businesses on him.
Well, for the second time this week, California Attorney General Rob Bonta now making sure that California immigrants know their rights regardless of their status. Yesterday, Bonta met with immigrants and immigrant rights groups in San Francisco, where he promised to fight back against President-elect Trump's plans for mass deportation.
We're a land of immigrants. We're better off for it. And unfortunately, not everyone sees it that way. As the president-elect makes clear his intent to move forward with an inhumane and destructive immigration agenda, I'm here to make clear that California's immigrant communities have my support.
Yeah, Bonta also reminding immigrants they have rights regardless of their immigration status. And those rights include the right to an attorney, the right to apply for most housing without sharing their immigration status, the right to emergency medical care, and the right to work in a place free of harassment and discrimination. Republicans have slammed Bonta and Governor Newsom, arguing they're spending too much time focusing on going after incoming President Trump instead of finding ways to work with him. Bonta's meeting on Thursday, though, is just one of several that he's promised to host before Trump takes office. It's been 2 weeks since a tsunami alert was triggered from that 7.0 magnitude quake off the coast of Humboldt County. Now, since then, leaders in San Mateo County have been holding meetings with residents to learn about ways they can better communicate during the next tsunami. In the meeting, people told leaders that panic already set in after the alert because they didn't know if they were in an evacuation zone or not. And now the county's working on making that clear by creating zone maps on its website. The county says the new website and app should be released next year, and the county also plans to hold drills as well so that people have a better idea what they need to do when the next alert happens. UC Berkeley's My Shake app, by the way, is expanding beyond cell phones. That free earthquake warning system can now be downloaded on Apple computers and on Chromebooks. Berkeley says they're working to make that app available for the Windows operating system, too. The app provides early earthquake warning alerts across California, Oregon, and Washington, and has been downloaded nearly 4 million times since its launch in late 2019. That system relies on seismic sensors in the ground all throughout the West Coast to detect shaking and send out alerts as soon as an earthquake is detected.
It's 8:40, and the Oakland Roots and Soul SC have announced interest in building a permanent stadium at Howard Terminal. The club submitted this plan to the Port Authority, and it outlines their vision. Gorgeous. The renderings seem like that's going to be quite the gathering spot for sports fans and the community there. The discussions about remaining at the Coliseum are still ongoing. Still ahead on the KRON4 Morning News, after a devastating fire, Oakland's Horn Barbecue is back, but the new one isn't in Oakland. We'll take you to the new restaurant and check out some of that food. And Messi Mania is coming to San Jose. Miami FC, they're coming to take on the San Jose Quakes next season. We'll tell you how you can get your hands on some tickets.